Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. For the past couple of days, we talked about Bradley Edwards and his upcoming book, Relentless Pursuit. And leading up to the book, Mr. Edwards penned a couple of columns for the Daily Mail. And in those columns, he had a few very interesting things to say about Ghislaine Maxwell. Well, now Ghislaine Maxwell is responding to a few of those things through her mouthpiece, Laura Goldman. And you all know how I feel about Maxwell and the manipulation of the media and how she uses Goldman not to respond so much, but as to pass on cryptic messages to those who are involved in her criminal enterprise. And I obviously don't have any evidence that can prove that, right? But what I can do is read between the lines. What I can do is understand what Ghislaine Maxwell truly means, because this is not a woman who does not think about things before she says them, who is not calculating every move. We know that is exactly who she is. So when we hear her use her mouthpiece, Laura Goldman, well, we know that whatever's coming out is something that needs to be looked at and not just taken at face value. It needs to be broken down and rebuilt, because whatever Ghislaine Maxwell is saying is probably a lie. So this article is from The Sun, and the author is Sarah White. Headline: No royal models. Epstein pimp. She wasn't a pimp, okay? She was not a pimp. You can't pimp out little girls. She was a child abuser, in my opinion. She was a co-conspirator, in my opinion, and she was the brains behind the operation, in my opinion. So much more than a pimp. It's so disrespectful to the survivors. Epstein pimp Ghislaine Maxwell denies victim's baby surrogacy claim as Epstein's no father figure. Talk about understatement of the year. Epstein's no father figure, huh? Well, in other news, water is wet, and we're all stuck in our houses. Is this lady for real? That's the excuse? What did I say the other day about the excuses these morons are always dropping on us? No court of law in the whole entire world, I don't care what kind of kangaroo court you're talking about, the Taliban court inside of Kabul, would reject her claims. Nobody believes you, Ghislaine. Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell, denies former abuse survivor Virginia Roberts' claims that they both asked her to be their baby surrogate by stating that she wasn't sure the billionaire pedophile was good father material. I mean, really? Really? He wasn't good father material, huh, Ghislaine? No, come on. I thought Jeffrey was aces. I thought he was the best. I thought he was just such an amazing guy. Now all of a sudden he's not a good father figure? Yeah, right. Yeah, right. The Brit socialite spoke out from hiding to respond to Bradley Edwards' book's revelations, which state that Virginia fled the odd couple at age 19 when they made the outrageous suggestion of her having a child for them to raise. Again, folks, let's look at everything we know up to this point. Let's look at all of the statements. Let's look at all of the court documents. Let's look at all of the things that the investigators and police had to say about this. And then let's look at all of the excuses made by people like Ghislaine Maxwell, Prince Andrew, Glenn Dubin, Les Wexner, Alan Dershowitz, etc., etc. Let's look at all of their excuses, and then let's look at all of the evidence that's been brought forward. And you can tell me with a straight face that the excuses and the so-called alibis that these morons are giving us on a regular basis cut the cake? Because they don't, okay? These people are so used to not having to face justice that they will use any absurd lie or any absurd alibi to try and cover their tracks, thinking that the slack will be picked up by those that protect them in the media and in the government. Well, I hate to tell them, those days are over, okay? That ship has sailed. You'll no longer have the protection of the media, because the legacy media is not the only mouthpiece speaking to the people anymore. And if you think you're going to intimidate independent journalists or content creators or people who are, chasing down your every single move, well, again, you're wrong. That doesn't work. That ship is sailed as well. Okay, nobody's scared of you. Nobody's intimidated by you. So come out of your hole. Quit speaking through the mouth of your friend Laura here and face the justice that you deserve. Her family friend, Laura Goldman, who still speaks to her despite her repeated refusals to reveal her whereabouts, told Sun Online, "She told me that she wasn't sure that Jeffrey was good father material and someone who you could raise a child with. The only response to that is, you don't say." So all of a sudden now Laura Goldman is chipping in snide remarks and oh, you don't say. Well, yeah, Laura, you don't say. So you act like hanging out with Ghislaine Maxwell is any better than associating with Jeffrey Epstein? Like Ghislaine Maxwell is any less of a sociopath? Like you have some sort of moral high ground to stand upon because, oh, well, I can get on board and say Jeffrey was a sicko, but not Ghislaine. Yeah, right, okay? They're both sick, and you covering from them is not a good look. She says she might have grown up in a family of 9 children, so she has many nieces and nephews, but she never had the desire to have a child herself. She doesn't have the maternal yearning that many women do. Oh yeah, we know that you have plenty of nephews, and we know that one of them worked for Hillary Clinton in the State Department. Isn't that funny, huh? Alexander DeRossi, your nephew, worked for Hillary Clinton at the State Department. Oh, yeah. During the whole entire Arab Spring that worked out so grand for us on a larger scale. Yeah, he was involved in that. So, again, ask yourselves, why would Ghislaine Maxwell's nephew have such a high-ranking position at the State Department where he's involved in policy-making decisions? I'm sure there was no nepotism involved there. I'm sure it had nothing to do with the fact that the Clintons were super close with Maxwell and Epstein. Come on. How dare you even try and open that drawer? How dare you even try and take a look behind the curtain there? Her response comes just days after the survivors of Epstein's crimes attorney's book revealed that the former abuse survivor finally managed to escape their hold over her when they made the shocking baby surrogate suggestion. Laura continued, Ghislaine claims that she knows there is a story about Virginia being asked to carry a baby for Jeffrey and her, but she says that is not true. She says that they didn't have that kind of relationship then, nor would she have wanted to raise a child with him anyway. During that time, she only worked for Jeffrey. Oh, this is such a bunch of BS. This is such bullshit, folks. Do not buy this. I hope anyone out there who is just getting involved in this case, who is just starting to follow this case, understands what we're dealing with here. The sort of sociopath we're dealing with here. We're talking about a real-life Cersei Lannister, okay? This lady is straight up evil. And the way she tries to manipulate things from behind the scenes, and the way she tries to change the narrative of what happened in the past, and the way she tries to control the narrative, smacks to me of somebody who is so savvy when it comes to intelligence and misinformation and misdirection that it's impossible for me to think or for me to believe that Ghislaine Maxwell isn't running a whole entire disinformation operation still from her hidey hole, and she's still getting away with it. That's what makes me so incensed. The fact that this lady is still able to manipulate things in the media through mouthpieces like Laura Goldman and not be found by the Sun or the authorities or anybody else looking for her. How is this even possible, folks? How is this lady able to hold up in such a secure and secret location that nobody can find her? Is this real life? Mr. Edwards' new book, Relentless Pursuit, says it became his life mission to get justice for Epstein survivors, including Virginia Roberts, for more than a decade. I'll tell you what, Mr. Edwards, I'm right there with you at this point. I've never been so motivated to see people face justice in my life. I don't even know what to say at this point, besides I cannot wait for the day that we wake up and this vile woman is in handcuffs. I'm not even a drinker, folks, but I'm telling you right now, the day that it happens, we are popping bottles right here in my studio. It's going to be like I'm down at the club. It's like I'm going to be at the, one of the clubs like at Wet here in Las Vegas, or, partying with Floyd Mayweather Jr. I'm going to pop bottles, and I might even make it rain. Well, Monopoly money maybe, but you get my drift, right? So once we wake up to that news, it's going to be a fantastic day, folks, all right? It's going to be a cause for celebration, and we're going to celebrate when she finally gets arrested. And like I've said, for the past, 6 weeks since we've started to see some of the dominoes fall with some of these rich billionaires, I truly believe we're going to get justice in this case. Now, is it going to be postponed a little bit because of what's going on in the world with COVID-19 and the severe reality that all of us are facing as society around us really begins to show a toll from what's occurring? Now, will that delay it a little bit? Perhaps. But this case isn't going anywhere. I know I'm not going anywhere. So at the very least, I'll be here running my fat yap 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And I know that the girls over on the Prince and the Pervert podcast, they're going to be doing the same exact thing. All right? So this story isn't going anywhere. No matter what else is going on around it in the world, or how much the world is going to shit around us, this story is so important that I will not release it from my lockjaws. I'm going to keep covering this case until the MFing wheels fall off. In its Mail on Sunday serialization, he says he asked Virginia to prove her allegations. Continuing, she sent me the envelope that Maxwell had given her when they first met, with directions to Epstein's address, as well as travel and hotel receipts charged to Epstein's card. Not long afterwards, Virginia showed me a photograph of herself aged 17, wedged in between Maxwell and Andrew. The prince always strongly denied having sex with Roberts in London and New York, and at an orgy on Epstein's private Virgin Island. The attorney describes the former survivor of Epstein as a powerful woman who would not scare easily or be bullied by anyone. Agreed with that. I've said that from the beginning too, and I don't know how much more I have to say it. I'm inspired by the courage shown by these ladies. And that's saying a lot, because it takes a lot for me to be inspired by anyone or anything on this planet these days, because I'm a pretty skeptical person, and I don't I'm not impressed easily, I guess I could say. And what these ladies have done, and the wherewithal they have shown, and the courage they have shown to stand up with their head straight and their shoulders back, and to tell these abusers and the enablers around them that they will not be bullied into silence, they will not stop pursuing justice, and they will not stop yelling and screaming from every mountaintop about how sick these people are. Well, I'll tell you what. That's the kind of thing where you have to look at that, and if you don't look at that, and you don't respect that, you don't respect the courage shown, well, I don't know what to tell you, because what we're seeing from Virginia Roberts, Maria Farmer, Annie Farmer, this is true courage, folks. We're seeing it right before our eyes. Courageous ladies willing to stand up to some of the most powerful people in the world, who were able to intimidate news organizations, reporters, politicians, you name it. They were able to intimidate all of those people, but not Virginia Roberts, not Annie Farmer, and certainly not Maria Farmer. So when he says that, she's a powerful woman who would not scare easily or be bullied by anyone, he's not lying about that. His book alleges that Maxwell, now 58, taught the then teen all the skills needed to keep Epstein happy, but that the billionaire financier, pedophile, debauched world became too much for her. You think? I mean, just let's go back and listen to what occurred. What she had to deal with, dressing as a Catholic schoolgirl, wearing latex, being passed to his friends. No wonder Virginia ran for the hills in a foreign country. I would have done the same thing. I'd rather be trapped in insert country here for the rest of my life, with no hope of leaving that country, than spend one single second with Maxwell or Epstein. After being trapped in the sex cult for over 2 years, Maxwell and Epstein, dubbed Bonnie and Clyde by survivors, allegedly asked her to carry his baby, Edwards writes. Edwards claims that Roberts was asked to carry Epstein's baby with the intention of handing the newborn child to him and was told that she would be looked after for the rest of her life. I mean, really? It shouldn't shock us that what we're hearing this, right? Considering what Epstein wanted to do down at the Zorro Ranch as far as, impregnations and seeding the world with his DNA, etc., etc. But still, when you hear it from somebody like Bradley Edwards, it becomes all that much more real. And it slaps you right in the face. It's like a cold glass of water thrown in your face. If you haven't been following this case, and maybe this is your first time listening to the podcast, and you hear something like this, I can't even imagine. It's like an automatic red pilling, right? Right away. You're not even expecting it. You're listening to a podcast. You might, you're not familiar with the case. You're not familiar with all of the details and, all the nuances. And then you start hearing shit like this. It must be like literally a slap in the face, a cold glass of water, and Morpheus giving you the red pill. Because this is beyond the pale. This is stuff out of some sort of sick book written by like Richard Harris or something. Roberts apparently decided their request was the final straw and finally escaped their clutches during a trip to Thailand, where she'd flown to interview a young girl for Epstein's sordid entertainment. After marrying an Australian she met and fell in love with there, Roberts ended up running away to Australia, where she had 3 children. Prince Andrew has come under renewed pressure to be interviewed by the FBI as the new book exposes the extent of his former pal Epstein's child abuse. Look, I get it, right? This book definitely is blowing the doors off of it, and it is incredible work by Bradley Edwards and a huge part that has to be added to the catalog to build the whole entire puzzle. But we knew a lot of these allegations previously, right? Anybody who has been following the case knew that Prince Andrew was neck deep in this shit. So now I don't know how much renewed pressure this is going to cause for Andrew, considering Andrew has been in the scope from the very beginning. But like I said a second ago, what I think it does do is it opens up a whole new window for people who might not have been following the case too closely or are new to the case. They see a book out by Bradley Edwards documenting all of this, and they find out that he was one of the lawyers. Well, that book holds a lot of sway with people, right? That's a good source. That's good sourced information. And that's what people crave these days. People crave solid information that is not BS. And that's what we're getting here from Bradley Edwards. So while I agree that the book is awesome and it's going to be a huge part going forward, I don't really think it's going to put too much new pressure on Prince Andrew. I think with the team around the Prince of Punk asses right now, pressure doesn't even matter. Those lawyers are going to make sure that they drag their feet and drag this out as long as possible. Epstein hanged himself in prison, allegedly, last year while awaiting trial for child sex trafficking. But his survivors are demanding the Duke of York answer questions about what he knew. The prince has always strenuously denied Virginia's claims that she was forced to sleep with the Queen's favorite son on 3 occasions, and told the BBC's Emily Maitlis in an interview last year that he had never met her. Really? So the picture, that picture meant nothing, right? I know, I forgot, folks. He wasn't wearing his sex trafficking kit that day, so it couldn't have been him. Abusing 3 a day. This disgusts me, by the way, to read this. I hate reading this again, but it's part of this article, and it's important. We have to hammer this home. This is a point that needs to be driven and hammered home so people can truly understand the scope of what Epstein was up to. Relentless Pursuit also reveals the victims have said that Epstein was abusing 3 girls a day at one point, and that he would visibly shake with sexual desire. Edwards writes about Epstein. He was an intellectually gifted sociopath with unlimited wealth who lived a virtually unconstrained life. The rules he and those in his fold lived by were his own. The problem was that his rules didn't account for laws. Well, why should they? His whole entire life he spent avoiding and dodging getting in trouble, even when the people around him were facing serious jail time. And is that because he had a stroke of luck? Did he have a rabbit's foot he carried with him? Did he have a lucky rock? Maybe a lucky baseball card? That has to be it, right? It couldn't be that he was being protected by intelligence. I mean, that would never happen in America. I mean, that would never, ever happen in... Oh, wait. Epstein had amassed extensive political and worldly connections. For decades, he used his tremendous fortunes to sexually exploit women and girls, some as young as 14. We know that's a fact too, right? We know that that's what he was up to. Everybody knows that's what he was up to, and yet the authorities let this slide for this long, and they're still dragging their feet. Jeffrey Berman must be, he must be on self-quarantine right now. He must have quarantined himself, and he can't do any work, and the investigators can't do any investigations, I guess, because how much more evidence do you need to kick in a door or two? All right? I'm just going to be straight up and real with you. How much more evidence do you need to kick in a door or two? I'm sure you would have no problem kicking in the door of somebody whose last name ended in a vowel if they, God forbid, were involved in illegal sports gambling. You'd have no problem kicking the door in with a SWAT team and dragging them out, seizing all of their funds, bringing in their family members for questioning. Nah, you'd have no problem doing that, FBI. But here we go. We got a whole sex trafficking ring. We got all sorts of evidence. We have all sorts of receipts. And UMFs are still dragging your feet, huh? You're still dragging your feet. The book claims Ghislaine Maxwell was a pivotal figure in Epstein's abuse for more than a decade, allegedly helping him recruit and groom underage girls. Yeah, pivotal figure. That's an understatement. That's definitely an understatement. We're talking co-conspirator, leadership role, brains of the operation, and the asset sent over to oversee Epstein. Maxwell's lawyers have denied suggestions she procured girls for Epstein, who killed himself in jail last August, allegedly, and that's bullshit. I've heard directly from survivors about what Maxwell was up to, about how she would cruise Central Park looking for nubiles, okay? Please. Maxwell is said to have kept the names of girls who were being abused by Epstein on her computer and allegedly groomed Epstein's first underage victim in 1994 when she approached a 13-year-old girl who was later molested and raped by Epstein outside a summer camp in the U.S. Gross. It's just so gross. I don't know how much more clear I can be that there is more than enough evidence to arrest Ghislaine Maxwell. The reason that they're not arresting her has to be that they're so deathly afraid of what she's going to reveal that they're dragging their feet and they're hoping that the public outcry will go away. But not this time. You are not going to shake and bake us this time. You are not going to juke us this time. All right? We're not watching we're not going to fall for your BS. We're coming in with form tackles, okay? No arm tackles here. You're not going to be able to get out of our grip. None of that shit's happening, all right? We're going to keep punching this point home. We're going to keep driving this point home, and we're going to keep our foot on the gas in pursuit of justice, because this is absolutely bullshit. Epstein had an unquenchable appetite for young girls, and Ghislaine had a knack for finding them, writes Edwards. True, 100% true again. I've had the same thing told to me by survivors, confirmed to me by survivors of Epstein about what this man was up to, and really what Ghislaine was up to, what her MO was, how she rolled, what she was looking for with these young girls. And we see the same pattern unfold time and time again with Ghislaine Maxwell and the sort of girl that she chooses. Edwards has now repeated his calls for the prince to collaborate with the U.S. authorities. Prince Andrew has been approached for comment. So, Bradley Edwards is calling on Prince Andrew once again to step forward and answer questions. We know that's not going to occur, but I like the strategy by Mr. Edwards here. Let's make sure we keep calling them out. Let's make sure that we keep them on the front burner so everybody understands what's going on and everybody understands that they're scared to speak to authorities. Because, unfortunately, since the justice system is not letting this case be waged in a court of law, we have to take our fight to the people. We have to take our pursuit of justice to the people. And Virginia Roberts has done that in spades. The way she's managed her social media and the way she's connected with people on social media, people who support her and people who are searching for justice, has been a stroke of genius by her. Because what it's done is it's consolidated her support around her and given her an actual system of people who will go out there as surrogates who want justice in this case. And she's been able to bring her story to the people. And we're not talking about a bullshit story here, right? Or somebody that's just coming in and talking nonsense. She showed up to the party with all sorts of receipts, pictures, corroborated evidence, etc., etc. So when we see that sort of stuff from somebody like Virginia and the way that she has been able to get her story to the masses, we see that it's effective. And I'm glad to see that the other girls are starting to do the same thing, because this story is important, and I'm shocked by how many people still don't know the true scope and the depths of this story. So I think it's a very, very good move for Virginia and the other girls to bring their case directly to the people, because anybody who is even a halfway decent human being will not close their eyes and turn their head away and stay silent when it comes to something like this. So when everybody is outraged and everybody is demanding justice, they'll be forced to serve it up. All right, everybody, if you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. Today, I'm going to be releasing my COVID-19, The Pandemic That Changed Everything podcast. I was going to release it last night, but it got a little bit too late, and I wanted to make sure that I had it polished up and everything ready to go. So that will be out today, as well as episode 3 of the Core 4 series. So definitely be on the lookout for that. And so I'll have this, the COVID-19 podcast is already made. The link will be provided inside of the description box. I didn't do that last night because I didn't have the icon put in yet and the picture and stuff. So now that that's all set up, I will leave the link here. And you'll be able to check it out later on tonight. I will post on Twitter. That's why it's important that you follow me there. I will post on Twitter when the episode is ready to go. All right, everybody, until then, I hope you all have as good of a Monday as you possibly can, and I will talk to you in a little while.